a few people that can't make it. So if you're happy, Anne, are you happy if we record this?
I'm totally fine with recording. Yes.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. I'm not going to last long with this hat in front of this.
I was just running out to try and get my festive hat, and I think my son must have taken it with him.
You're in the middle of the day, so you can have that. You could have, or you could have. I have to admit, don't worry, I haven't gone out, ladies, and spent an absolute fortune on hats. Or you could have Rudolph. That's actually spectacularly uncomfortable, if you don't mind me saying so. And it also slightly looks like Rudolph's passed on, doesn't it? So I'm not quite so impressed with that.
I drink too many.
Or I had some glasses.
Oh, lovely.
Oh yes, I like those.
Yeah. I've actually got a picture of my dad wearing those at Christmas. Or I had another pair of glasses as well, and I think I might stick at these for a time being. Just see. There you go. Right. Oh, exhausting. Oh, look at you, Liz.
Yeah, look at me. Yes.
Oh, you've got a crown.
Very good.
I have.
Okay.
Queen Elizabeth.
Well, there you go. We called our dog Elizabeth because we got her when some Jubilee thing was on. So if we can just, and obviously she's now called Betty. So I can't read. I'm sorry. That's it. It also gives me terrible static hair, so I'm sort of like got it stuck all over my face. Right. Okay. Let me just, because very kindly sent me a biography, so I just need to whip it up and have a look at it here.
It's very short.
And fear not, anything would be gratefully received. So Anne is a DJ and a writer and an editor and an activist for many causes. This former English teacher, hang on, let me just let in Mary. I think there's going to be a little dribble of people coming in. So we'll just, the former English teacher will never correct your spelling. Well, I hope not, because I can't spell. Will never correct your spelling and grammar without being asked. As the editor-in-chief of Junior matchmaking services, she takes the sting out of online dating for modern lovers.
Wow.
And in case anyone's interested, here's an article. She was actually paid to write about herself, and there's lots of other articles. Obviously, there's one that's best. I will share the link with that for all of you, and also I will share Anne's website as well. So I think Ellen's probably, this is going to be lost on her, because I think she's got a few years to go before she needs to hook onto the online dating services. And I don't know, actually, after lockdown, I'm pretty tempted, I have to say. But I don't know what everybody feels about the online dating thing, but personally, I think this is absolutely fascinating. I've had a bit of a taster with Anne before these have started, and it's fascinating. The statistics are just mind-blowing. And also, I think we should all get some tips and hints and all that sort of stuff. Mary, I'm loving, look at Mary's background. Either she's just moved to or she's got the most.
This is my house every night, you see. I'm just living it's Christmas all year around here.
Look at Caroline's lights. They're gorgeous, aren't
they? Who else have we got here? Who else is we've got? I'm just waiting for a few more people who've said that they're going to be late now. So Anne is aware of the fact that that she has to let people in if there's anybody who can't get in. So if somebody texts you and says, I'm waiting in the waiting room, I can't get in.
What I was going to say is I'm not going to start the screen share right away anyway. I'm going to talk a bit first. So I'll let you know when it's time. And I think everyone here seems very reasonable and like they can roll with the punches if we have to do a little tech. But I thought I would start actually because Catherine was the one who reminded me that the Women's Institute is from Canada. And I then remembered and spent most of this morning trying to find photographs of the actual original site of the Women's Institute where I have been and taken photos. I happened to be driving by one day and saw one of those historical marker type things and thought, I'm a sucker for those. I always pull over. So, and this one, it was a really cool place. It's in Stony Creek, actually technically Salt Fleet. If any of you have ever been to Southern Ontario, which is where Toronto is and Niagara Falls is, then you might be familiar with the Niagara Escarpment, which is the great big giant cliff that Lake Erie has to go down before it becomes Lake Ontario, and that's where we get Niagara Falls. So right at the top of the Niagara Escarpment, overlooking the beautiful city of Hamilton and Hamilton Harbor, is the Women's Institute, and it was founded by oh gosh, I can't remember her name, but I do know that there were the husband and wife couple who founded it, and then there was this woman who's quite famous. I want to say her last name is Lovelace. I should probably look. Adelaide Hoodless, that was her last name. And so these founders also, not only at the same time they founded the Women's Institute, they founded the Macdonald Institute at the University of Guelph, where I live. And that was the first institution of higher learning for women at all in Canada, and is today still standing. And it is now the school, I believe it's been changed. It was for a long time the School of Hotel and Food Administration. Now it is the School of Family Sciences or something like that, and encompasses, beyond the hospitality stuff, a whole bunch of things like family therapy. That's where you would go to do your master's. So actually, weirdly, I have where I live is very closely aligned with the Women's Institute, and I can send you all kinds of interesting links about that. There are Women's Institute chapters there's more than one in Guelph, one at the university and one in the city of Guelph. And now that I know how much fun you are, I might have to get involved with my local. So
right.
Are we ready to talk about
non-women? I think we probably are. And so therefore, ladies, could you mute yourselves, please, if possible? And so it's a fairly loveless task when you're giving one of your lectures or giving a talk. But quite a few of the speakers have said that it's just completely silent apart from themselves. And even if you crack a joke, there's nothing. But you will see us all going,
hi.
I'll do my best.
Just accept that that's what it is. I'm just still letting a couple of people in. Dolly,
just, you know what? I'm in no rush. So if we want to give them a minute or two to get
here,
no,
that's okay. I think we should be okay. So yeah, if everybody can everybody can mute themselves, and if you want to pause your videos, that's absolutely fine. I probably will, because I'm going to do a bit of admin, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Honestly, can't wait. I'm going to have 5 husbands by the end of this. Right, okay, I'll see you all later, ladies.
Right, we'll see you at the end. So, hi, I'm Anne Marshall, and I am the Yenta-in-Chief of Junia Matchmaking Services. That's what I decided to call my company, because what I do is not quite matchmaking, but it is certainly matchmaking adjacent. And I have worked as a traditional matchmaker. That was actually my background. Going way back to high school, I remember during a teacher's strike when I was in grade 9, which would be 3rd year of high school in the UK. I was, by the way, educated as a teacher in Glasgow. So I do know the UK school system a little bit. Anyway, in grade 9 here in Canada, my friends and I had nothing to do but imagine what all of our friends were going to do with their lives. And we decided we were going to theoretically match everyone we knew up. So that was the beginning of my matchmaking career. And I actually was informally very fond of setting people up for a long time before. I'm going to say in 2006, I returned from a teaching job that I was doing in the United States at a time when it was very difficult to get hired as a teacher in Canada. But I came home for family reasons, and the only people who would hire me were these matchmakers in downtown Toronto. I still don't know why they thought a teacher would be the person to do this job, but it turns out that much like teaching, there's a lot of educating that goes on when you're trying to find somebody love, and you have to have people skills that, you know, involve giving difficult information to people who really don't want to hear it. So I was pretty good at that, working in sort of a traditional matchmaking agency. Traditional matchmaking differs, though, from what I do in a couple of significant ways. So the first way in which it's similar is always, whether I'm an online dating concierge or a matchmaker, I am getting to know my client very well. I am learning what their personality is like. I'm learning what their preferences are when it comes to other people. You know, there's a lot of sort of back and forth between us. The difference is that when I'm a traditional matchmaker, I can really only match you with another person who has also paid me a great deal of money. And when I say a great deal of money, it might surprise you to learn that there are matchmakers that I know working in the City of London who charge £25,000. That sort of thing. You know, I know someone in Stockholm who charges 25,000 euros. You know, there's that it's multiple thousands of dollars, and everyone else who you could potentially meet has paid a similar fee. But what ends up happening in that scenario is that's a pretty small group of people who can afford prices like that. So the best they can do is to match you with someone they've already got, or they can go to another matchmaker and sort of do a trade. And a lot of that happens. I belong to an online group called Professional Love Connectors. You wouldn't be able to join it even if you wanted to, because you do have to be certified through the Matchmaking Institute to be a part of it. And I am. The Matchmaking Institute actually is only about 20 years old, because even though I am engaged in what is arguably the world's second oldest profession, there was no regulation of it for a really long time. And in the early 2000s, a bunch of matchmakers in the Chicago area decided that they would get together and they would become the regulatory body. And they have, because who was going to tell them they couldn't? So it's a good thing that there are some of us making sure that most of us are accountable. However, I do see, because I belong to this group, how hard it is for these traditional matchmakers to find matches, particularly for their clients who may be, you know, a little older or in some way a challenge to match. And a lot of traditional matchmakers will just take your money and say, you know what, we'll work out the details later. And that was what I didn't like about that job. I was dealing with very angry and very upset people on the phone a lot of the time. And I started finding myself advising those people who had paid thousands of dollars to work with our agency and didn't really feel like they were getting anything out of it. I would say, you know, one woman I remember very vividly, she was crying. That happened a lot. And it was, you know, difficult to hear someone so upset, especially when I wasn't the person who had taken the money from them in the first place. That was the salesperson upstairs. And I said, did it ever occur to you that you could put yourself on a dating site? And she said, well, no. And I said, well, if I were you, and I was so upset that I was literally crying and all I really wanted was a date for my daughter's wedding, I would join this thing. It's called Plenty of Fish. It's, at the time, it was brand new, you know, and I started telling her about it, and I started telling more people about this. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, this is really what especially older women should be doing. So that was kind of the genesis of my business, but my business didn't begin in earnest until while I was on my 1-year maternity leave, because we are lucky enough to have that in Canada. The business that I had been working for shut down entirely. So there was no job for me to go back to. And suddenly I was stuck. I was myself a soon to be single parent. The father of my child and I were splitting up, and it was a very difficult time. And I made the insane decision to start my own business. And in the beginning, it was very, very slow, because no one was doing what I did, and no one even understood what I was proposing to do for people. So I was working mainly with friends and family members who knew somebody who was single. But over the years, I was able to get some government funding to do some actual business training, and I started my own business. And what I do is I put my clients, no matter who they are, regardless of age or, you know, situation or location or orientation, I represent my clients on the internet, and I help them to find connections with people. I always say I'm not the one making the match, and I'm not the one finding love, because it really is up to you to decide whether it's a match and whether it's love, but I am helping my clients meet more people than they would meet if they were just sitting at home by themselves. So my prices are very reasonable because I am providing a service, whereas most matchmakers are literally offering, they're not necessarily delivering on it, but they are offering a guarantee. They will say, you know, we are going to introduce you to this many people and one of them is going to be your match. And the kind of implication is, if it isn't, that's your fault. When they're done with you, they're done. My clients work with me on a month-by-month basis, and they agree to have me represent them online. And that does mean that I write letters and sign their names to the bottom. You know, in a way, I am the online version of Cyrano. And what all of my clients have in common is they have more desire to find someone than they have to be on an internet dating site. And that can be for many different reasons. Some of them have done it and hated it, and they don't want anything more to do with it. Some of them have absolutely no idea how it works and wouldn't even know where to begin. So in some cases, if someone just is really keen to get to know how it works, they'll work with me on a one-time basis. I will help them write a profile. I'll teach them the basics of how to use the dating sites, and I kind of wish them luck. But most people choose to go with the full Cyrano, what I call my elite service. And that is where 1 month at a time, I search for candidates that they're going to like. They approve them to make sure they don't recognize anyone, because I definitely do not want to set you up with your next door neighbor. That would be awkward and weird. But you know, they're vetted by me to the extent that I can vet anyone based on a dating profile. And the client approves them, and then I start sending out messages. I send out 2 to 4 messages every day of the week, Monday to Friday. I log into the sites. It's very businesslike. When I am doing my job, I'm not going out of my way to impersonate people, because I couldn't if I wanted to. I do think I have an ear for dialogue. I was a playwriting major in university, and I get to know my clients pretty well. So I'll even ask them, what are some phrases that you use regularly? But that's about the extent of it. When I am communicating with people, I am using the voice that I think most people wish everyone used on the internet, which is polite, friendly, answering the questions that you're asked, showing a little bit of curiosity, but I am by no means trying to be someone. And that is one of the reasons that, you know, I often get asked, well, don't the people notice when somebody else shows up to meet or to talk on the phone? These days, it's more like Zoom dates, but you know, they'll say, can't they tell it's a different person? No, they never can. And I think we can count on a little scientific concept known as confirmation bias for that, because by the time I'm passing a client off to a person that they're going to continue the conversation with, either on the phone or on Zoom or in person, that person's already decided that they've liked my client. So they're not really looking for evidence that doesn't support that, if that makes sense. You know, they're really looking for evidence that does support that this is a person who is, and again, I don't make anything up. I know a lot of things about my clients. Every one of my clients, I know what their favorite book is. I know what they wanted to be when they grew up. I know, all sorts of little tidbits like that. But basically, I am just finessing the conversation in a way that actually makes it possible for it to take place outside of the dating site. A lot of people, unfortunately, get on the dating sites or on the dating apps and they do not get out. They have the whole conversation there. They have it all at once. And whatever was happening that day with the person that they were talking to on a Tuesday, that person is no longer interested on Wednesday. And it turns out that that's because they were just bored on Tuesday and they're not really there looking for a date. They're really there just looking to pass some time. So one of the ways in which I help my clients to avoid that thing is I don't sit there and live chat with people. I couldn't. What if someone asked me a question I didn't know the answer to? I send my messages, I log out, I come back in at the same time next day, I continue the conversation, and that's how it goes. So that's my basic process. And I know I can tell already by some of your faces that I bet there could be questions. So before I actually launch into the little presentation that I have for you, I wondered if anyone had any questions up to this point. Anybody? Anyone? Okay. Are we good to keep going? Oh, I see Michaela's hand.
Yes. First of all, I mean, from my point of view, no man is worth £25,000, God forbid. But what I would like to know, what do you offer more than, say, all these dating sites? Like, two of my friends have found partners on something called Parship, which is, £40 as opposed of a 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you offer?
In what sense?
Well, I mean, do you find more people than the dating sites? Are yours a bit more, so when you go and meet somebody, you're not afraid, so they're more secure? Do you see what I mean? This
is a
kind of
good
thing.
question. So I will say I can't find them anyone who hasn't put themselves on a dating site or app. That's, if they're not on a dating site or on a dating app, there is no way for me to find them, because I don't, even though I would love to, I don't just like haul people off the street and go, are you single? That is actually more the traditional matchmaker's job. And that is one with which I would feel very uncomfortable. However, I do vet people to the degree that I am able to. So, and we'll talk about this in a bit when we get into my presentation,
Okay.
but I do look for certain red flags that to me indicate that it's likely that someone is not who they say they are. And I hate to tell this to people, they don't like to hear it, but the number one thing that sets my spidey senses tingling is if someone's photograph is too good. If their photo is amazing and you think, wow, I want to meet that guy. And then you think, well, why is he single in Harrow? There you go, right? So that's number one. And what I do is a neat little trick that if anyone's really interested in these, I have videos for all of these things. So it's called a Google reverse image search. Does anyone know what that is? You've all probably used Google image search before to look for something. When you Google anything, you can search for photo results, right? It gives you that. But they also have, if you type, instead of just going to google.com or .co.uk, whatever it is, if you type images.google.com, what comes up is different. Instead of a field for you to type in, there's a little icon of a camera. And if you click on that camera, you can upload any photograph and it will tell you where else that photo appears online. So when I see a very, very handsome man who I feel quite sure could not possibly be single in Harrow, I will save that photo or take a screenshot of it, and then I will re-upload it to Google, and Google will find him if he is somebody else. And what's really interesting is about 50% of the time when my spidey senses go off like this, and I think there's no way that guy's single, he is, and he isn't a faker. But about 50% of the time, I will find out that, oh, okay, so the most popular places to steal a photo, if you're going to pretend to be someone else online, people like to steal them from hairstyling books. Men's hairstyles, older men's hairstyles, gentlemen's hairstyles, men with silver hair, like those will be the results that come up, and you'll see the guy's picture 500 times. And then the other one, which is interesting because this would be different in Europe and England than it is in North America. So here, what they'll do is they'll take the photo of someone who is not famous in this part of the world. So it's very popular, for example, for people to steal photographs from European footballers because we don't really watch that much soccer here. So nobody knows that that guy was like the most famous striker from the Dutch team in the 80s, and he's aging really well because he's a rich man, So they just follow those guys on Instagram and steal their photos and use them here. And we wouldn't know, but anybody from, who followed that would be like, oh, that's so-and-so, right? So I suppose an equivalent here would be if it was an American retired baseball player. Most of you probably wouldn't know what that guy looked like, but he probably couldn't walk down the street in Milwaukee without getting mobbed. So they will use these people's photos who are famous elsewhere, and you will never know the better unless you do the Google image search. So that's one thing I look for. I look for a few other things and we'll get into them in a minute, but that's an excellent question. Anybody else before I get into the screen share? All right.
I think we're okay. Right, so Anne, I'm going to make you host so that you can. I'm just going to find you because you are a popular speaker. There's lots of women here looking for love. Apart from my mother, who's here, everybody. So I'm having to be very well behaved today.
Hello. Okay, I am now the host, which means I can share the screen. So I just have to get this up and I need to play. There you go. So this is actually, as you can see, I do a little seminar. It's called the Modern Dating Boot Camp. So, why online dating? Now, I did not have time to look up the British statistic. I'd be very curious. This statistic changed in Canada this year. Used to be 1 in 4. Now it's more than 1 in 3. It's actually like 1.2 out of 3 single Canadians has used an internet dating site to meet someone. One of the reasons online dating is great, I think, is because it does provide a lot more information up front about somebody. If you met someone at the pub, it might be months before you knew whether they had children or what religion they were raised in, all sorts of things. So online dating profiles ask you to divulge a lot of information that otherwise would take a while to get to. I like that online dating is open 24 hours. And it's also, by the way, very, very open during a pandemic. And I think for this group, it's really important to understand that online, unlike in the real world, it's roughly 50-50 men and women, online dating actually favors women because really right up until about the mid 60s, there are more men than women on dating sites because women are, I think quite rightly, very cautious about this sort of thing. But that's why if you go to a traditional matchmaker as a woman over 50, very unlikely that she'll even take you on, or he. I always send, and this is why traditional matchmakers hire me to work for their companies, is because just by virtue of being a woman online, and any of you who have any online dating experience are probably nodding your heads to this, you will get messages. Now, they won't be great. Some of them might be, but I really think that women who take charge of their online dating profiles and actually work them kind of assertively have a really good chance of finding someone because of the gender imbalance that exists online. It is mostly men right up until the 60s. So why online dating? This is one of my happy couples. This is Kathy and Mike, but I'm going to show you a little parade of people. These are just couples that I put together in 2020. And 2 of them have gotten married. I should mention that the pandemic has absolutely clarified things, I think, for a lot of people, put into perspective what is really important. And if you had told me in March, when everything was shutting down, that this was going to be the most successful year for my business, I would have laughed at you. But it is, in fact, and has been my most successful year. So I'm going to show you a little parade of people who I put together this year who have agreed to be seen. So Gordon on the right was my client, and he is a 75-year-old Al Pacino lookalike. And the woman that I found for him online on the left is Pauline, who looks like Joni Mitchell. And they are my favorite couple visually. They're just stunning people. So they met in June of this year. And they are looking forward to spending their first Christmas together in quarantine. She has moved into his house. Stephanie and Dan also met this year. That is a photo they took this summer when they were camping in Algonquin Park, and I worked with Stephanie in June. He was her first date. She didn't meet anyone else after that. They're both parents, so she has 3 children and he has 3 children. So if they get married, it will be a real, actual Brady Bunch situation. Greg and Bonnie. Greg was one of those online dating lifers on the left, and Bonnie was a really, really cautious person. And in fact, I had to work so hard to get her to agree to even talk to him. And then, when it worked out between them, she was so happy that she insisted on coming to meet me. So I actually had a nice outdoor lunch with these 2 in the summertime. This is my favorite couple of the year, Ginny and Jack. So Ginny on the right is 76 and Jack on the left is 73. And when Ginny came to me, her question was, and I'm going to quote her, she said, "Is there anyone out there who's not just looking for a nurse with a purse?" And she was convinced that she was going to end up with a 90-year-old man. Not that there's anything wrong. In fact, I would love to represent a 90-year-old online. However, there's not many of them, but she was convinced that was because she's 76, she was past it, and she was just going to get, you know, people. And in fact, this is a picture of Ginny on her wedding day. They are now married, and that's her with her matron of honor. And she's 76. The guy she's married on August, whatever it was, is 73. So they're my favorites. Barbara and Tony also met this year, but they're in their 50s. Jean and Becky. Now, Jean is a man, he's French Canadian, and I represented him, and I got their wedding invitation this year, and I almost died because, again, I'm not a two-sided matchmaker. I only worked for him, so I was very surprised to be invited to this wedding, and I got the invitation from the bride. So I wrote to her and I said, "Hi, you know, how do you know who I am?" basically. And I said, "I'd love to come." I couldn't attend the wedding because of COVID, but she, as you can see, she wrote to me, "Thank you for helping me find him. I reached out to him because of his profile. It was so well written." And this is them, Jean and Becky, and they are in their 30s. So I work with people at all ages and stages of life. I work with people no matter how they identify. I work with people of any orientation. I am very committed to trying to help anyone who wants to work with me. Excuse me. And I do offer my services on a sliding scale. I feel that that's an important part of my mandate as a matchmaker and an online dating concierge, is to be as inclusive as possible. And I do not think, unlike many of my traditional matchmaking colleagues, that having a great deal of money to spend on this sort of thing should be a prerequisite to finding love. So I do work with people on a sliding scale, and this year have been offering people, you know, it sounds like I'm trying to take advantage of it, but really it's because I know that this year has been very hard and very expensive for many people. So I have been offering a pandemic discount this year, and that may be why I have so very many people. So the people who come to me come for a lot of different reasons, and I have just outlined here some of the reasons that people typically would say they want to meet someone. And I have heard all of these and more. Surprisingly, but actually happily, you know, because $25,000 to hire a traditional matchmaker is a lot for people. A lot of people are comfortable coming to me because they don't really need a traditional matchmaker. I do think unless you're really dead set on getting married or having children with someone, you know, if you know for sure that you want to live with someone, then maybe you want to go that route. But a lot of people I talk to, especially the women in their 50s and 60s and up, they really just want a boyfriend. And they don't need a matchmaker for that. They need someone to vet potential dates. You know, they want to go and do things. They want to have fun. So these are all reasons, all of them valid, that people have come to me. And if you are someone who is single, you might want to take a look at this slide. I am going to put the PowerPoint in the chat. If anyone wants to download it, you can refer to this later. And it's important to know before you start putting yourself out there, what are you actually looking for this person to do with you? So again, I have had actually, and it really surprised me, but it was a woman in her early 60s who came to me and said she wanted to build what she called a roster. And so she wanted to have a friend to go to the theater with, and she said, "I don't mind if he's gay." Like literally, that was one of her. She wanted to date up to 4 men, and she wanted at least one of them to be gay, so that she would have a date for theater and shopping. And I thought that was kind of fabulous. And hilariously, in fact, that was the one guy that we found right away. So, but yeah, again, it's important to know when you're about to put yourself online, what do you really mean by that? What are you really thinking, especially this year when we have to consider whether it's worth piercing our social bubble to even go for an outdoor coffee and a walk with somebody, which is what most people's dates are looking like this year. And then these are the things that I hear for the most part when it comes to why people have come to me, because I always ask, why do you need my help? So a lot of people, you know, don't know enough other single people. They wouldn't even know where to begin. I have a lot of people who come to me and say, I have a hard time trusting. And those people I am tending now to refer to the other side of my business, this year I did, through the Matchmaking Institute, become a certified online dating and regular dating relationship coach. And I do sometimes get people coming to me, who are not quite ready. So a lot of times if someone is really hung up on an ex, that's a sign that they probably need to talk about that before they can start putting themselves out there. So I'll refer those people to my coaching service as well. It's really important before you put yourself online that you know yourself and what you have to offer. So if you're going to write your own dating profile, I kind of break it down into 4 categories. This is me. So these are my great qualities, and I am not available. I met my own partner almost 8 years ago now on OkCupid, and he was my one and only internet date. It's worth mentioning. But these are the things that I was trying to keep in mind when I was writing my own profile. So things to do with my personality, I consider myself all of these things. Things to do with my lifestyle. I love my work. I love what I do. I'm very close to my family and friends. I'm pretty active. I'm fairly healthy. It's really important that whoever I'm with, because I am a very active person in the political sense, be okay with that too. So these were the things I needed to highlight up front. So there's personality characteristics. There are lifestyle attributes. Then there's the physical, superficial stuff. So I have curly hair. It used to be red, but as you can see, I'm growing out my roots this year. I have green eyes. I'm about 5'8", average build. I think I have a good fashion sense, and I am 49. And these are the interests that I think are things that other people are likely to share. And it's important to, again, have some of those, because a lot of times I'll ask people, what do you like to do? And, a man will say, well, I love to play golf. I watch a lot of war movies, and he'll just rattle off all of these insanely male sounding characteristics. And I'll think, okay, that's great. But like, I don't know a ton of women who want to only watch war movies, so we need to think about the things that other people might share with you. Not, I do believe in being very honest, but we don't need to be completely honest. And then these are things that you also need to think about. What's important to you? What would you be looking for in a person? So these are, again, I use myself as an example. I had to sit down and break down not only what I like about a person, but also what do these things mean? So as you can see, some of them are broken way down. Like valid driver's license was a big one for me for a while, because I was in Toronto where nobody drives, but I want to go on road trips. So I need someone to be able to take the wheel from time to time, and that seems really weirdly specific. But again, sometimes if it's something that's a big part of your life, you want to get specific. And then these are the things that I decided were important to me. And as you'll note, on all of these lists, there are fewer things on their side than there are on the side about me, because I think that it's important not to have too fixed an idea of what you're looking for in somebody else, And so for me, any of these interests, as long as they had at least 2, like the guy on the other side of this wall who I met on OkCupid, I would say of all of those things, he's interested in movies and politics, and that's it. He dances. He's not a great dancer, but you know what Alex is? He's a reliable dancer. He gets the dance floor going. If the party is going to fail, Alex will step up, but he's not a good dancer. So, and yeah, he's my height or taller. He's relatively fit. Decent dresser. Guess what? I've spent the last 8 years replacing his wardrobe one piece at a time. So some of these things, again, you just need to have a couple of them. The rest can be worked on. So I'm going to show you some examples of horrible things I've seen on dating profiles. The first one I call excessive negativity. So this person has said, no Jersey Shore types, no BBW. In case you don't know, that stands for Big Beautiful Woman. And it's a handy bit of internet shorthand. So basically this guy is saying that he does not want to date anyone overweight, but he's not saying it in a nice way. And I also think what's really wrong here is you don't need to tell people at all what you don't like. There's no room for that in a profile. It should be about what you do like. It should be about you and what you bring. So, and then he has made some horrible spelling mistakes, which just take away any good impression that he might have had. Here's a second example of what not to do. This man led with a shirtless photo. And it's not even a great shirtless photo. It's actually taken in kind of unflattering profile. And I am okay with a shirtless photo online if it's contextual. If that man was at the beach, and he may well be, we might not be able to see the beach behind him, but I'd like to see at least a little bit of water, you know, to make that okay. This person has wasted the opportunity to talk about themselves. So they have given us their interests, whiskey being one of them. I would say, you know, even if you're really into whiskey, maybe tone that down a bit. I do tend to take the mention of a specific type of alcohol as a possible, not definite, but possible indication that this person has a bit of a problem. If you look at About Me here, this is a man's profile, and he has written a whole bunch of stuff about what he thinks a perfect woman would do. So we have learned absolutely nothing about him. And if I was looking at this profile for my client, I would not write to this person because I don't know anything about him. All I know is what he thinks a perfect woman does. Here's another bad profile. Now this guy, he's got some photos. As you can see, they represent, I think, a wide range of looks for him, and possibly a wide range of time. I'm going to say that this photo on the right is probably the most recent because he looks much older there than he does in the other two. And the mistake he made there is not taking down the other two. You do not want to compete with your younger self. And then if you look at what he's written, he's gone on and on about how he is young and he doesn't believe he looks 58, but he realizes that regardless of how he feels, that's a number that will scare some people away. I have always of the opinion that you should let other people tell you what, what other people tell you. So if you say, people tell me I look young for my age all the time, honestly, when I look at your profile, all I'm going to be doing is scrutinizing it, looking for signs that that is not true. So don't tell, we want to show. And what this guy is doing is not showing. Then we do see a lot of this kind of excessively negative. People really, really want to get together and complain about online dating. So they think that a great way to get your attention is to start off by being a jerk. And as you can see, this person is a real jerk. After reviewing a lot of the comments put on this site by women, it appears the site could be called Plenty of Pigs. Now, doesn't he sound like a wonderful person that you want to get to know? And then down here, he actually has a normal profile. So he put all that up there without even thinking about it. Negativity, you leave it out. You know, this is not the basis on which we want to meet people. We absolutely do not want to be like Smiles and Giggles 15. Now, first of all, doesn't he look like a smiley, giggly fellow? He's got what could potentially be some sort of a Nazi symbol on his shirt, and he's posing with a tiger. Looks like a really fun guy. So again, no tigers, no fish. If you're going to have an animal in your photo, it should be your pet. And yeah, the best online dating profile. So that's a lot of stuff not to do. Here's what we want to do. We want to have a current picture, preferably taken within the last 6 months, but I prefer within the last 3. In my opinion, a picture taken 5 minutes ago is not recent enough. Because I always say we want people to see who you really are when they show up on Zoom or when you meet them outside 6 feet apart for coffee under the mask. Your eyes should look relatively the same. What we want to do is tell the truth about your life and make that sound good. And I'll give you an example. I literally represented a person who lived in what you would call a caravan. He was, it was working for him at the time. He was a minimalist, right? But that's a hard sell. And it wasn't that the guy didn't have any money or anything. It was really that he had made this lifestyle choice. So when I had to write his profile, I mean, I had to somehow put that information in there, honestly, because his issue was he came to me that every time a woman actually got back to his place, they would be horrified to discover that he lived in a trailer. So we decided to make that part of his profile, make the thing that was holding him back the most, something that we put up front and highlight it. And we talked about all the reasons that he loves living the way that he does, that he is a minimalist, that he has the ability to park it wherever he wants, that, that he is not opposed to living in a house one day, but we put all that in his profile and things turned around for him immediately. As I mentioned earlier, we do want to show rather than tell. So don't tell people that you're funny or that other people think you're funny. It's an opportunity for you to showcase your humor in the actual profile. I'm a big fan of giving people specific details in your profile. And when I say specific details, I don't mean your address and I don't mean, your child's middle name or anything like that. But there are lots of things that you can give away to people that are actually not quite intimate, but they're personal details. Things like, what's your favorite movie of all time? If you are a fan of jazz music, do you prefer Ornette Coleman? Do you like Dinah Washington? Or are you a John Patitucci enthusiast? Those are three very different jazz musicians. And so when you say, I like jazz, that doesn't really help the jazz lover out there know that you know what you're talking about. So I love to give people details that they can cling to. It makes the conversation that all of this profile is really meant to spark conversation. And the conversations will go better if you give people actual details they can cling to. Choosing your pictures, I'll just say, we'll make this very quick because I know we have carols to sing. Pictures are not optional. They should be recent. If you can only have 3 pictures on a dating profile, you want 1 clear headshot, 1 full body shot, and 1 where you're not actually posing for the camera. I recommend that women get a little bit glammed up. I mean, you don't have to put on a ball gown, but don't take a picture when you've just rolled out of bed. Statistics show that people click more frequently on photographs of women who are wearing makeup. And it's funny because the men all say, oh, I want a natural beauty who can just roll out the door, not high maintenance, but they look at the photos of the women wearing makeup. Similarly, women click more often on photographs of men who are posing outside, preferably with some trees visible, if you want to get really specific. I guess there's a sort of a manly lumberjack association. I'm not really sure. I will say that wearing red in any dating photo, if you're online and nobody's giving you any love, take a picture of yourself wearing a red shirt or a red dress or even a red tie, red lipstick. People will click more often. Often when they're doing this, they're doing it on their phone. And your picture is this big. So anything that makes it pop is actually a good thing. And I would say leave the sunglasses and things like that off. When we're writing our profiles, we're going to be very positive. If you can't be positive about yourself, then ask your friends and family to give you some help or come see me. Don't paste the legal disclaimers in there. Talk to any lawyer. Those things about what Facebook can and cannot do with your information, that's just mumbo jumbo. It actually doesn't mean anything. And make sure you're telling the truth about every significant area of your profile, like your height and your age. People are going to find out anyway, and they're just going to feel betrayed. I always say you would much rather be a slightly dubious looking 49-year-old, or a very good looking 49-year-old like myself than a slightly dubious 45-year-old. Like if I was lying about my age, people can tell, we see ourselves in the mirror. Log in every day when you're working your profile. And I recommend people focus on the outbox. Don't worry about who's writing to you. In fact, if anything, it'll just depress you. I recommend hiding your profile if the site has the option to do that, and only writing to people that you want to hear from. I'm going to skip past these because I want to get to the questions that people might have. When we're messaging people online, we're going to keep the messages fairly short but substantive. We're going to mention anything in their profile, but we are not going to talk about their appearance. I actually consider that sort of commentary not very helpful, and I don't like it when people write to my clients and I've spent a great deal of time building this picture of them as a person, and then they say, you've got a great smile, and I'm okay with just signing your first name. There's not a lot, unless your name is Brunhilde or something really unique. It's very difficult to find out a lot of information about someone from a first name only. So you're pretty safe divulging that online. And if someone doesn't write back to you, don't keep hounding them. It just lowers the tone. This is something that, again, if those of you are interested, we can go through this. I'm going to put the link in the chat here and you can download this. And this is my template for foolproof first message, and then when you're replying to people, don't bother with the thanks, but no thanks. Answer any questions that you're asked. And if they ask a question that makes you uncomfortable or is a little too private, you can say, I'd rather answer that when we know each other better. Or you can just ignore it and turn the conversation to something else. Now, if anyone ever offends you at any point, if your spider senses start going off, then you want to just end the conversation without another word. But once you've been talking to someone for more than 2 weeks, if you haven't met or talked on the phone yet, it is time to make that happen. If you don't, I will tell you right now, you're never going to. And it's more than likely, if someone keeps making excuses not to talk on the phone or not to at least video call or something, that they are not who they say they are. I think 3 messages a piece, 3 from me, 3 to you or from you, 3 or 4 is more than enough to decide, if you're writing decent messages, not just, hey, how's it going? Oh, not bad. How are you? We don't do that kind of thing. That's for live chat, which we don't engage in. And then basically, these are the things that I was talking about before, how to spot a fraud. No one is going to be messaging people who live 200 kilometers away. Why would you? Unless they live on an Arctic island somewhere, they don't need to do that. I talked about whether photos are too good. That is unfortunately a reason to suspect someone. But like I said, half the time I'm wrong. And that person really is that good looking. You saw some of my clients, you've seen them, they're great. I do look for language issues. Minor spelling and grammar errors are forgivable, but if it's a lot and they don't list a second language spoken, I mean, it's perfectly fine to make spelling and grammar errors if you speak French as your first language. But if they don't say anything about a second language and there are a lot of spelling and grammar errors and they seem particularly egregious, it's probably a sign that this person is not who they say they are. And also actually visually looking at the spacing, if a message has been copied and pasted multiple times, if you've ever done this, you'll notice that the formatting changes more and more. And that's a really good sign that this person, that's how a lot of scammers work, is they just copy and paste the same messages to a bunch of people. Got to the end there. So overall, I'll leave you with some safety tips. And again, I'll just leave this screen up for a minute. I'm going to put my presentation in the chat so that anyone who wants to download it can look at it and enjoy it at their leisure. And I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions. So I'm going to stop screen sharing now. And I guess, Sarah, that means you can make me not the host.
I will reclaim my hosting.
Excellent.
Or hostessing, I suppose. So can I just ask one question, actually, Anne? So,
sure.
Because for some people who weren't here right at the very, very beginning, when you were explaining about how this all works, so you basically, people come to you and say, I would like to meet somebody online, but they either don't feel they have the skills to do it, or they don't feel that they have the time to do it, or and you become them. They give you the right to write on their behalf, and you find out, and so you literally are like a sort of their PA, I suppose, in a sense.
Yes,
you could describe yourself as their PA. And so you get, so you find out exactly what these people are like, and then you sort of trawl through and you find people that you think will match. Well, then you're a genius. You've had 2 weddings this year. That's amazing.
This year, I don't think I can take credit as much as COVID can, sadly, for this year being such a good year. I mean, it did for many people. It really highlighted that something was missing, right?
Yeah.
And also for those of us who are happy to be single, I think it highlighted that for people too, because hey, I know a lot of couples that are having a hard time this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that obviously online counselling and dating are so probably the 2 things that are doing very, very well this year. Does anybody else have any questions? Catherine.
Oh, thanks, Anne. That was really great. Thank you. But I was just wondering, what advice do you give your clients if they meet face to face and it's a disaster? They just don't get on. Because that must happen, because people write in a very different way sometimes to the way that they are. So what would you say to your client then?
You're not going to believe me, but it actually doesn't happen very often. I can only think of one out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dates, because I do really vet the people pretty well. And I'm pretty, what's interesting is that about 50% of the conversations that I get into on behalf of my clients don't go anywhere, because I cut them off, because I can tell just from the messaging that this person is not going to be fun to talk to, or, is going to be clammed up or offensive or something. So by the time I present it to a client, I am pretty sure that it's going to go well. And sometimes, I mean, I usually suggest that they at least speak on the phone briefly, even if only to set up whatever they're going to do, like a Zoom date or a real date. I mean, things this year are a little different, but yeah, I have only had one. And I do say there are ways that you can set up a date so that if it were to go poorly, it would be relatively easy to get out of it no matter what, because you never know and it could happen anytime. So one of my best pieces of advice is set up what I call a moving date. Do not have your first meeting be sitting down across the table from somebody, because that's a hard position to get out of if it's not going well. You know, like you'd have to get the check, you know, to get out, right? So I usually, long before the pandemic happened, I was setting people up on first dates that took place on foot. So instead of saying, let's go for coffee, we would say, let's go grab a coffee from this place in a busy social setting. You know, I often send people, I like to send people, you know, to like cool kind of market areas or whatever, where there's a lot to see and walk around, but you don't have to sit and have that job interview, because also the job interview across the table is not very scintillating for anyone. You know, when we sit across from each other, you know, you feel like you're forced to make that eye contact that is sometimes not very natural, especially if you're meeting someone for the first time, and it just, you end up playing 20 questions. So I always feel that a first date where you can sort of be side by side is a little better. So walking around is a good way. And so the one horror story I have is and this woman, it was just really, there was no way any of us could predicted this. So she had taken my advice and she was meeting this person at a street fair. It was in the summertime. And I actually jokingly said to her, you know, what's great about this is that like, it's probably going to be very crowded. So if it doesn't go well, you can just, you know, look at your phone and go, oh my goodness, I've got to go, and just, you know, turn off, and he won't even be able to find you. And you know what? That's actually what ended up happening, because it's terrible. But this guy showed up and he had very heavily photoshopped his face, because he had, and this, it's such a terrible thing to say, but it kind of points back to my point about how people should be really, really honest in their profiles. This guy had some kind of a skin condition, and it was very unusual looking and really quite jarring. And he had photoshopped his picture so that you couldn't tell. So when she saw him, she was so kind of taken aback by his actual appearance that she was like, oh, she couldn't deal with it at all. And she's like, I felt horrible, but about 20 minutes of walking around, and it wasn't like the conversation was going very well either. She said, I ended up doing what you said. You know, somebody texted me and he said, oh, do you have to get that? And she seized the opportunity and she said, actually, yes, I do. And I'm so sorry. It was nice to meet you. And she took off. So that is my one true horror story. And I felt for her, because again, that's something where if that was, you know, there's no reason why that man shouldn't be looking for love, and he's allowed to find love just like anybody else. But where he went wrong was by not talking about something that was going to be very, very obvious when a person met him, right? And so like she's like, if I had been prepared for that, I might have been better able to deal with it, but she wasn't, and it really blindsided her. So I do actually recommend that you also tell people when you're going on a date, because first of all your married friends are going to be, you know, living vicariously through you, right? So they want to know, and they are more than happy. Like you can say, I'm meeting him at 3:30. I need you to text me at 4 o'clock. And that way you just have a text coming in. And if the text is going well, you can just say it's fine, and your friend will know not to bug you again. And if it's not, if the conversation's a dud, then you have an excuse. You can say, I'm so sorry, that's my babysitter, or whatever it is. You have your thing made up and you exit. But again, that has literally only happened one time. Mostly what I hear is, it was okay. You know, there was no spark. And actually when people say there was no spark, I will grill them a little bit. I'll say, so were you expecting to be like, you know, some enchanted evening, you know, hearing strings in the background, like that kind of thing? For me, the bar of whether a date was good enough to see a person again was, did you laugh at least once? Did the person say anything offensive at all? Like, did you talk? Did the conversation flow? Like, if you can say yes to those questions, I think it's worth seeing person a second time. You know, if they showed up and they were who you thought they were going to be and they didn't say anything rude and you had an okay time and it was a good conversation, then I think it's worth finding out if there's more. But if you meet the person and it's, ugh, you know, then yeah, just, you know, have it set up that a friend will help you make a graceful exit.
Anybody else? Rajni. Have you?
Yes. Hi, Anne.
Hello.
Thank you for that. I was just wondering, how successful are you?
Well, you know, it depends on the measure of success, right? So some people come to me with the goal of simply going out on more dates. And that with those people, I'm 100% successful because I always do better for them than they would have done for themselves. I have probably got, I don't know, 80 marriages out of, I don't know how many people. You know, the interesting thing with my job is that I don't always get to hear the end of the story. Unlike a traditional matchmaker, people don't feel the need to report back to me. A lot of them, the couples that I showed in my presentation are people who actually did divulge to their partner that I had a role in this. Most people don't. I leave it up to them whether they decide to ever mention that. So I can't actually say how many of them get married. I will say that, again, I consider it a success always because it is a monthly service, right? And I say from the beginning that if you come to me and you want to work with me for just 1 month to see how to do it, and if at the end of that, you feel confident, like you can go and do this for yourself, then that's a success, right? So I would, very few people leave me because they're angry with me. Some have, but that's been more of a personality clash thing than anything else, I think, with some really, sometimes people come to me when they're just really not ready. And I have to kind of remind them that I'm the professional who you hired to do this. And, you know, you're hindering me right now, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't really know how to measure success in the sense that a traditional matchmaker would, where they're like, yes, 95% of our clients get married. Like, I don't know. People don't tell me that they're not happy very often. So yeah,
It's not so much about marriage, but I mean, when people are happy, I mean, how long?
I mean, that's the main reason people stop working with me is because they have started seeing someone that they want to keep seeing.
And is that only 1 or 2 months, or does it normally take about a year?
Really, honestly, I used to say it was on average, it would be, you know, anywhere from 3 months to whatever, but you know, it's different for every person. This year again has been really different. So I've had more 1 month only clients this year than ever, you know, where people are getting it right away. But and again, I don't see this as a reflection of me. I see it more as a reflection of people's willingness to, this year, they're like, okay, maybe I have been holding myself back, you know, and they're more open than they have been in the past.
Thank you very much, Anne.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anybody else? Or, Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. Are you okay there?
She's still muted, I think.
Yeah, I know. You just need to unmute yourself. I don't think I can do it this time, Marilyn. Are you right there?
Bottom left corner of your screen.
Yeah.
Send her a chat, Sarah. Send her a chat.
That's true. You can also chat.
Well, she can hear us, so I don't need to send her a chat. But
okay.
All right then.
Yeah.
Whatever Marilyn can always write to you or something.
That's right. Anyone who has any questions can write to me anytime.
Exactly.
It is in the Zoom window. It's just in the bottom left corner, and it looks like a little microphone.
Yeah, have we got that?
So
well, Marilyn has spoken to us
down there,
before, so Marilyn should be okay, but it's obviously disappeared. Well, whatever. Absolutely fascinating. I mean, as I said, I'm delighted to say that I'm very happily married. But you know, as we've all struggled on through COVID, there have been times that I'm sure all of us could have used the services of a matchmaker or an online dating thing, and it would have been great to have known you then. So, but I mean, amazing to hear how you got into it. I think it's. I think you're obviously absolutely brilliant at it. I could tell. I would love to come to somebody like you to give me all the advice and all the boosting and everything. That you'd be such a positive person to go to. So all your clients are very, very lucky indeed, I think. And that's just from one evening of talking to us. So thank you very much indeed. As always, the silent clapping for you.
I'm going to drop into the chat the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, that would be great.
Wants to have it.
That would be really, really great.
Do that now. And I understand there's going to be some carols. So
I think there's probably going to be lots of stuff. But thank you so much for talking to us. And can I just say this, what I'm loving about the WI, because in the same way that your work has been affected by COVID, our WI has been affected by COVID by getting online. Because what's been able to happen is that we've had people from all over the place coming to talk to us. Now you are our most far-flung speaker, can I say, probably ever that we're ever going to have, because you might have guessed from the accent that Anne is actually in Canada at the moment. She's just outside Toronto, I think you said you were. So it's the middle of the day for her, so she still has a whole day to go. I think she's got a day's work.
Well, I do, and I work with people all over the world. So I actually I have clients on the west coast of the United States right now.
Oh, wow.
I have worked with people in the UK. It means that I keep very funny hours. So.
That's great. And thank you so much to Catherine for suggesting.
That was wonderful. I'm muting myself, but I'm going to listen a bit, and I'm going to drop that link in there. Okay.
Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you. And what's absolutely hilarious is that Catherine has now met Anne for the first time. They've been talking online, I think, for about 12 years or something like that, and this is the first time they've actually seen each other face
second time.
Second time. So yeah, so the wonders of Zoom, that you're actually all sort of able to get together and sort of do all those sorts of things. Now, so what we have been doing is a lot of you been sharing all your sort of your family traditions and wreaths and all those sorts of things on the WhatsApp group, and it's great. I think it's really got me into the spirit. As you can see, I've got my mantelpiece. I'm roasting to death. I'm literally the chestnut roasting in front of the fire for you lot to get my little sort of festive thing going on. I've been sort of stoking it up and at times literally roasting, but it really has got me into the mood. And so I thought that I might share some of the family things that we do, and it might give you a bit of inspiration. Now, we do have some work, and the Welsh people online at the moment, could you put your hands up? There, so Catherine, yeah. Obviously, my father, who is sitting up in the corner there, my dad
I'm not.
in Wales, there he is, but he's not Welsh. He says very strongly that he's not Welsh. So we have, so Ma, there's my mother, she's Welsh as well. And we have Joan, yes, so Myra is, I don't know why I point, because you can't see what I'm pointing at, but anyway, Myra, so now, Joan is from Ogmore, and she just said to me, I'm from this little place that you won't have heard of called Ogmore-on-Sea. I said, used to swim there. And Sandra's in Swansea, and Mum and Dad are just outside Abergavenny. So for the Welsh people online, I have done a little Welsh thing, which you're not going to be able to see terribly well, even if I hold it up really, really close. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. But this is a clove orange. Now, my mother and I, every year, sadly not this year, but my mother and I, every year, we sit down and we make clove oranges. And it's just an orange, and you have... so stick cloves into it, and it's great. If you put it on a radiator, makes the whole house smell of Christmas, or if you put it next to a fire, it's just gorgeous, and they're really, really pretty too and everything. But this one, you can't see it, but it does actually say Nadolig Llawen, which I can't say properly, but is that how I say it, Sandra? Is that right? Nadolig Llawen. So it actually says Happy Christmas in Welsh around it on a ribbon. So if anybody fancies having a go at that, then that's one thing. And the other thing, which I didn't make because I knew that I'd just sit eating them all the time, is that again, my mum and I, we sit and we get dates. Now I'm sure this has got to be some sort of Middle Eastern thing, but we've done it for years and years and years. And you get a date and a bit of marzipan, and you take the pit out and you put the marzipan in, and then you put an almond in it. Well, it's obviously a Welsh thing there, Sandra. So you have a thing. So I didn't dare make them for now because I'd literally be rolling out the front room. So that's it. So that's what we were. So those are my traditional things. Has anybody else got anything that you do that you can sort of?
There's a big tradition of what you've just said in New Zealand. They go to church with their oranges with cloves, and on top of the orange they make a hole and they put a candle, and it's especially for the children's evening at church.
Yes,
So they start a bit early, and all the kids go there with the, you know, with their candles and their oranges with cloves.
yeah,
Every single year. So God knows there must have been an awful lot of Welsh people in New Zealand.
I think we rule the world, Mika. We rule the world. Anybody else? Doina, what happens? What traditional things you do?
No. Hi. No, it's not about the tradition. I used to do a lot of oranges like you did when we lived in North Africa. But when I'm in England, I did one and it's gone off. What kind of orange you use?
Oh, it's just a Jaffa orange. Now this doesn't have very many cloves in it, because I have to admit this was like, oh my God, stop it. And I didn't actually manage to get a huge number. I was a bit rushed today because it's a bit early for me to be doing this. But the more cloves you put in it, the longer it lasts. So I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know
because it's gone off. It's gone all moldy with all the cloves in it. I don't know what. So I've been looking to find out what kind of oranges.
This is just a Jaffa orange, just a good old Jaffa orange. But it will need an awful lot of cloves for it to work. So that's
thanks.
Anybody else have any traditions? I think Kelly had said that she was going to share a cocktail or two with us, but she has just written to me saying that her husband has got a tutor period with boys from the school, so she's having to listen in. She can't actually join us and talk, and she certainly can't join us and talk and tell us all about alcohol in front of a whole load of Harrow schoolboys. So perhaps you could share that with us on the WhatsApp group. But keep them coming, ladies. Anything that you would like to share with us, just put it onto the WhatsApp group. Oh, Nicola, what do you have?
I might say something. I was going to say, we always used to have the service at church. Well, I think it still goes on. It's called Christingle.
Yeah.
The oranges and the candles. And of course, I had quite a very active elder son who Mary knows. And of course, his main charge for the night was to try and, as soon as the candle was lit, and they all paraded round the church, the children, to try and set his sister's hair alight.
Yeah.
No, one day he did. We got it out very quickly.
The whole church must have reeked of burning hair.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know anyone else that did it, but I think he just thought that was what he had to do.
I'm sure. Well, as you all know, because I've told you multiple times, I'm a vicar's daughter, so my dad, who's here, is the vicar, obviously. And so we used to have to make the Christingle oranges for the services.
That's right, yeah.
And so you'd have a Jaffa orange, and you put the red ribbon round it, which was, sort of, I think it was, I don't know what they represent. Was it God's love round the world, something like that? And then you'd have 4 cocktail sticks, and we used to put jelly babies on them, and there would be different coloured jelly babies, and these were the nations and da-da-da-da. And they also had fruit and stuff like that. Well, so Ma was really great. Ma would go out and she'd get, oh, Dad, I'm just about to humiliate you. But Ma would go out and she'd go out and get like soft fruits and stuff like this. And one year, Pop got sent out to go and get the things that had to be put onto the cocktail sticks. And he went out. Why? And he bought banana chips. Now, have you ever tried to put a banana chip on a cocktail stick? It was honestly taking eyes out. Honestly, we had to soak them in the end, and I think we got them up. But that was only one of the many, many, many years. It was like a production line. I'd be stuffing, Dad always cut the hole to put the candle in. Ma would make the tin foil star that would go in, and then I'd be sticking the ribbon on. So yes, it was a Christingle sort of thing that went on. Sorry, Ma. Honestly, I humiliate the poor man. He tips up to do some carols with us. Mine's the banana chips.
Sorry,
carry on, Nicola.
So the other one, I don't know if other people have had this. We still do have this crib service, which everybody turns up with their animals. I don't know if anyone has experienced that. That was about 25 years ago, the vicar. And so everybody turns up with hamsters. I mean, we've had donkeys. You just can't believe it. And it's still, it's a tradition, from 6:30 on Christmas Eve. It's the crib service with all the animals.
Well, I've never heard of that before. That's absolutely glorious.
No, they still do it.
There must be a terrible time, mustn't there? So if you have a hamster and somebody turns up with a greyhound or something, there must be that awful moment when you're terrified that your animal's going to kill somebody else's animal.
Yeah. It was quite credible in its heyday, which is when my children were younger. They used to have hundreds of pets, but it reared down very well.
Yeah, but I bet it did. It was all
a couple of corner from us have a donkey. They have a donkey that comes on Christmas Eve into the
I think we had the donkey. Yes. Yeah, there was one donkey. Yeah.
We used to have a donkey that came, didn't we, Mum and Pop, called Mungo. Mungo used to come along to our services. Mungo was a very, very grumpy donkey. And it wasn't actually at Christmas. It was at Easter. It was at the Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday.
Yeah, it was Palm Sunday, wasn't it, Pop? And Dad was asking everybody to pray, and they were all holding their palm crosses, and Mungo was there, and suddenly my brother started wailing at the top of his voice, ah! Like this, and Mungo was slowly munching his way through his palm cross, so eating his palm cross down to his hand. So anyway, that's enough of my family. As you might have gathered now, Mum and Pop, they get a lot of family anecdotes. So they know you very, very well. They've never seen you before, but they know you very well.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah, I did warn them yesterday, because we had one of the most hilarious family evenings last night, trying to work out how we could sing carols together. Hilarious. But we have worked it out, and I did say to them that they just had to put up with the fact that they would hear me wittering, and as Pop said, well, there's no change there then. So so it's very good. I was fascinated with Anne's talk, and I really hope that you've come in fine voice, so you'll only be able to hear yourself, but there you go, and also that you brought a book with you. Because one thing, there you go, everybody's got their books.
I'll have to get a
you
book.
Just need a book. All you need is a book. It can be, there you go. Right, fantastic. Everybody got one? Did you bring one, Mika? No,
but we used to do that every September when we bought our books and our exercise books. So I know how to wrap a book. So
okay.
Yeah, we had to do it. We were not allowed not to wrap our books and our exercise.
Oh, but in school when you write, you remember all the horrors.
Yeah. So I have the book, but you know.
Okay. So I sort of stumbled on this. Let me just share. I'm not terribly good at sharing screens, ladies. I have to say, I'm terribly sorry about this, but I'll give it a go. Okay. I'm not like Anne. I'm not an expert on it, but I'll just see if I can. So I stumbled upon this can you see that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So can you see it's like a hedgehog, and it's been folded out of book. And I stumbled across this when I was on a holiday in France, and they had this in a local restaurant called La Glacière, and they had lots of little cards in it. I thought, well, that's really cool. And being, sort of like inquisitive, I got online and I had to look, and this is what I discovered. There's a whole world out there of book folding. So you can book fold things like angels, and so I found all the Christmas theme ones. This one is stunning. This is just a book that's been folded, or you can make a sort of simple one. Or if you're really advanced, you can fold a book so that it says that. I mean, your fingers, you'd be bleeding with your fingers down to the bone. So anyway, so that's how I got into it. So I thought we could all have a bit of a go. We can have a chit chat whilst we're doing it. It's incredibly simple to do. Really, really simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, if I've actually remembered to bring my own book. That's oh, for goodness sake. Please tell me that I actually remember to bring my own book. All right, I'll do it with one of the pages in this book. So I'll just show you how to do it. It's 3 simple folds, okay? And once you've folded it once, that's it. You'll sort of know how to do it, and you just do it. So you get your book and get to about halfway through the book. So look at how many pages you've got, yeah? So this one had roughly some 200 pages, okay? So I started at page 100, right? So you then fold your book. Can you see that? So you then fold the first page down like this. So you take it down to one corner there. So you've now folded that first, oh, that's not going to work. Talk amongst yourselves. I put it down somewhere. Hang on, that's just ridiculous. Just have a quick chit chat.
Doesn't that destroy the books? I mean, I don't have any book that I don't care about, so.
I got plenty of cookery books.
I know how to rap, but don't know how to.
Use a magazine, Mika.
Ah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. So if I just have a piece of card behind it, you'll be able to see what I'm doing, right? Okay. So you have a page like this. You have a page that's just open, yeah? Fold down the top corners so that it literally, you just folded the top corner down, you folded your page in half. Can you see that? You literally from here, and you folded it in half, so it's now joining into the middle, yeah? Now you get your next page and you fold it, you know, the same page, and you fold it down again. So you've now got two folds. You've got the one fold from the top corner down here, like that. And then you fold it again. So we've now got a piece of a page that looks like this, yeah? So you've got it so that it's now triangular. And you'll also notice that at the bottom of it, you've got a little bit that's sticking out. And you just bend that over and you fold it in. So I'll do a page again. It's a very difficult thing to show online. Can I just assure you, if you quite fancy doing it, there's about 20,000 videos. So here you go. So I'll just do it again. So you take your page, yeah? You've got your page and you fold it down like this. So you've got it here. You take the top right-hand corner and you fold it down into the middle. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So you then take this corner down here.
Yeah.
And you fold it over again. So we've now got it folded into, yay, that's it, Mika. Well done. That's really, really cool. Oh, God, you try doing it upside down. And then you'll see that you've got a flap here, yeah? So bend that flap over and tuck it in, just like you're sort of tucking in an envelope, yeah? And you do that page after page after page. That's terrible, that folding there. But you do it page after page after page. And eventually, and it doesn't take very long, eventually...
Well, I made earlier.
Here's one I made earlier. Thank you, Dad. Stealing every last bit of thunder. Right, okay, so here we have our Christmas tree. And you'll end up with a book that looks like this. So you have like a sort of, very difficult. So you have like a, has everybody got that? And then into that, you can stick at the top a star, and you can make it into like a little Christmas tree. Or you could do, I did this one in about 20 minutes just before. Or you can take your WI magazine, as I did, and you can make like a little sort of a half Christmas tree. And I've sprayed this one and I just sprinkled some glitter on it. And that's quite nice. You could do it in some green, or you could do it, Gardener's World and things like that are great to do it in, because you get the really pretty sort of flowers and things like that. So that is your simple book folding, Catherine.
Sarah, you know, you fold it like this. How about, do you have to then go in the reverse direction, or do you do the same all the way through?
So you do your 100 pages. Yes, you do your 100 pages on this side. Yeah. Oh, well done, Mika. That's, see, it's really simple. And if you get, it's so funny, you're so industrious. So
look, if the spine goes back, yeah, and then it'll end up like a round.
Exactly. So
I can't explain it any better. But
so exactly. So if you're using a hardback book, break the spine. Yeah, that's it, Marilyn. Yeah, perfect. And you just keep folding and folding and folding, and that is your Gardener's World. You see, well done, or the garden, or whatever it is. And it's just quite pretty, and it's a really, really quick, really inexpensive way of making. Let's have a look there, Linda. How are you getting on? Well done. Yeah. See?
Very good.
I love it. I'm addicted.
Yeah, that's right, Liz. Yeah, you've got that right. So, and it's just a really, really, and I really got into it and started to producing all manner of things. There's some beautiful Christmas crackers that you can make, which just is doing this, you know, just a slightly different fold and a bit of a snip here and there. It's great. It's really, really, really good. And it's just one of those things, you know, we've all got old books knocking around that nobody really wants to throw away, but at the same time, you know that nobody's going to read it, and, you know, etc., etc. So you can do all sorts of things. The angels are really, really cute. They're really nice. And you can sort of make them, if you know how sometimes you can get those really little books, you know, you can get sort of, so you can, just look them up online. If anybody's interested, I can find some links and I'll share some links with you. This fellow Canadian's just walked out, actually. Heidi's husband's a Canadian. Where's yeah, Heidi, where's Mark from?
He's from Toronto.
Oh, he's from Toronto.
So he is from Toronto, like North Toronto. They call it North Fork. But yes, hopefully not consulting any dating. Would be a bit worrying if he was.
There you go. Yeah. Let's gloss over. Move on, Nate. Move on. So that's book folding. It's not, you know, it's not the most difficult of crafts, but I find it quite satisfying, and it's a really nice way. You can spray them, you can certainly put glitter on them and everything. And there was one year where I had the whole mantelpiece just had lots of different books, and if you've got a hardback and you take the spine off, you know, and just break the spine a bit, then they fan around into perfect Christmas trees, and you can make all sorts of different types. So there you go. So that's it. Those are my tasks for you, ladies. Some oranges with loads of cloves. We're going to be reeking. The entire hill is just going to be like awash with cloves. And then and there won't be a clove. It'll be like loo paper, won't it? There'll be a sudden.
That's right. Sold out.
And, and everybody, they know something we don't know. It's obviously a cure for COVID, and suddenly you'll just have like a run on cloves everywhere. So yeah. So but that'd be really good. I've been so thrilled actually by the way that we've all shared things on this group, and Linda with a sourdough, which has now just become a staple. Everybody's making sourdough, and Dawn with the wreaths, and everybody with their garden tips, and Mary with the bees. You know, fascinating. All of you, really, really fascinating. And you know, Marilyn, when you came and talked to us about your ventures, and oh, that's so cute, Mary B. Mary Dutson keeps bees, Pop. Yeah, you have to speak to her about getting a hive.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, all of you, Rajni with your grapes and your allotments, and yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. I've really, really enjoyed, and to say nothing of all of you who've given birth. That was marvelous. We've had 2 births this time. Excellent. Ella and Louis, the two little additions to our group. And what was your baby called, Dawn? I can't remember what's your Winnie. Winnie, that's right.
Now.
You see, there you are, Pop. My dad, there used to be an Auntie Winnie who lived at the bottom of the garden, and never in your lifetime would you have thought that you would have heard of a little girl.
I never baptised a Winnie.
He never baptised a Winnie.
Doina had one as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
one. Did you? What did you have, Doina?
My son, but in America they had a little girl, Camila Annabelle.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, I've done that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. That's absolutely fantastic.
I know, but I can't hold it.
Really gorgeous, yeah? Oh, was it your first grandchild, Doina?
No, I've got one here, Isabella.
Oh, well, that's really, really lovely. I'm obviously desperately hoping that my children don't start producing until my teenager has left home. Because if I have to go seamlessly from teenage years to having a grandchild, I think that would be the end of me. Anyway, going to be able to cope with that. So, well, anyway, so there you are, ladies. I've left you with a nice little sort of thing to be getting on with, and do post up your books and things like that and how you've decorated them, and you can do all sorts of things on them. They're really, really great. And if you really get into it, have a look online and just see some other bits and pieces, and send me some post up some WhatsApp things about your orange. This one's here waiting for you, Sandra, for when you come up with your Welsh thing on it, okay? Sandra's in Swansea. So, and in fact, Ma, so Catherine Earl, Ma and Pop, Catherine Earl was at school with Celia. Cass was at school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
a year below.
That must have been an experience.
It was an experience, wasn't it, Catherine? Right.
Happy times.
It just shows you how small the world is, and I think that's one thing that COVID has brought. Actually, so even though we couldn't see everybody, it has actually made me realise that you can actually be so really well connected with people all over the place in a way that you know I never thought possible before that. So, shall we, ladies? If you were wondering why my dad was here, by the way, why you just thought, why has my vicar, my vicar dad, talking of which, Pop, though, Anne was telling me, just in case you were interested, Anne was telling me that the oldest person wanting online dating service is 91.
No.
So, yeah.
Oh.
So there you are, Pop. You know, Ma, I hate to say it, but you know, days are numbered.
Are we going to sing now?
We are going to sing that. So it's simply because I had to put the words onto something. So we decided on Jingle Bells, because I thought everybody would know. So we're going to do Jingle Bells, but we're going to do the chorus and then a verse and a chorus, because I kept on going wrong, much to the merriment of my family.
Remember, Jingle Bells is 150 years old.
It is 150 years old.
Over 150 years old.
We learned it. Yeah, we learned that.
Really?
Yes.
We got that wrong in the quiz.
No, we didn't get it wrong. I said that it was 150 years. You should see, trust me.
Somebody else said something different.
You should always, the president's word is absolute.
Well, we still won.
I know we still won, but even we could have won by even more. So
Did you watch that program on BBC 4 about how the carols came to be and all those old, very, very old pub songs and so on, and then they developed and became, it was very interesting.
I'll look it
Try
up.
and catch it.
Yeah, I will. I'll watch it on catch up. So we're going to have Jingle Bells and we are going to have Hark the Herald. Okay, because those are the two that I just said. Now, it was absolutely hilarious. You cannot do it en masse because of the time lag. You're literally it's cacophonous. Honestly, ladies, I actually thought my mother was going to cry laughing. It was so, you know, for a family of musicians, it was agony. So you have to mute yourself. So you'll be able to see everybody else's mouths working, yeah. But you'll only be able to immersively. You'll be able to hear my dad play the piano, and you'll be able to sing. But that's it. So I'm just about to share the words with you. So everybody want to start with Jingle Bells? Yeah. Okay, so Dad.
This is as is it?
This is it, Pop. So I'm just about to share the words. And then I'm going to hand over to my dad, who's going to count us in. Okay, so it's Jingle Bells. Dad doesn't have the music for this, so he's busking. Okay, so and busking brilliantly. So I'm just about to share this, Pop, and then you can not that. Hang on 1 second. Let me just get rid of that one. Hang on. I'm not very good. I'm really not very good. I need. Don't save. Right, sorry. I don't know what you're seeing here, but it's not Jingle Bells. Okay. So there, can you see, what are you seeing that? Can you see that? Yeah?
Oh, we got words.
We do have words. I even put up a pretty picture. Thank you very much.
Ooh.
Okay, so I'm going to hand over to my dad, and Dad is going to count us in, and then we can have a quick sing song.
Well, it's a great thing to be among you ladies. When you get to my age, you get to think that you're never going to have a new experience. But tonight has been a real first. Education and information and instruction and all kinds of things. You must have got those wonderful things. It's been a great privilege to be here. And if we're going to sing, I think I ought to say that if this works, it will probably be the greatest achievement in the history of Western music. from what happened on our rehearsal the other night.
Everybody make sure that you've muted yourselves. You must mute yourselves, okay? Right, are you ready, Pop? Mika, you're going to have to mute yourself.
Oh, how could I sing if I'm muted?
Oh, no, because you sing.
You'll be hearing. Will they be hearing me?
Yes, they can hear you, Pop.
Right, here we go. There's the intro. Now, ladies, here's your note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jingle bell.
Fabulous, absolutely fantastic. If only we could hear everybody. That I could see the gusto. That would have been a cheering song all round. Okay, so let's share the screen. And hang on, wait a second, Pop. Hold your horses, quite literally. Right, okay.
Oh, I will.
Okay, so our next one, we're going to sing Hark the Herald.
Just
Ready?
2 verses, is it?
It's just the 2 verses, Pop, yeah.
One, 2, 3, and.
Fabulous. Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's absolutely fantastic. What can I say? That's the end of 2020's programme. We have done the next 3 months, because I think we're going to be doing it online. As far as we know, it's going to be online for the next 3 months. We have in January, we have Remind Me Cat, remind me, unmute yourself and remind me instantly.
It's a wonderful lady who took upon herself to do this amazing challenge to go all around the world. I think she rode some of it, she walked some of it, and so she rode as in a boat and then rode a bike as well. And she went around the world. And so she's going to talk to us about her adventures.
Fantastic. And then this will appeal to any of you geographers out there, but we're going to have a quiz, which is going to be where in the world. So we're going to be, you're going to have to try and have to guess where in the world is being described, or where in the world certain events happen, or da 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 da. Obviously, we're going to have to put that together. So committee members, start getting your hats on, festive or but thinking caps on, please, for where in the world. So that'd be absolutely fantastic. And then February, I think we're having a talk about Rome.
Ancient Rome. So it's one of the classic speakers at Harrow is going to, I think, give us a visual tour of ancient Rome.
Okay, perfect. And then in March, which is the last of our short 3-month series, we're going to be talked by a woman who is actually the head of HR in Amnesty International, but she's actually going to be talking to us about the 7 pillars of resilience. So how to boost your flagging spirits. And well, I think we just need Anne, quite frankly, but to boost your flagging spirits throughout COVID or throughout any sort of times of difficulty. I think that, you know, hopefully by then we should be coming out. I understand, Pop, that you're going to be getting the vaccine soon. Is that right? Pop?
I hope so, yes.
Yeah, I think that, so hopefully, and then I think then they have to wait a month.
You want me to come and talk about it?
Oh, that would be marvellous. You can talk about the agony of the COVID thing. Well, I think my father would be a very interesting man to come and talk to us at some point. Perhaps I might be able to drag him up. So
yes, do.
He could talk about many, many, many things. His times teaching Anthony Hopkins, all sorts of things like that. So anyway,
are men allowed in the WI?
I don't know. Are men allowed?
Why not?
Yeah. Are they not? Oh, look at men.
They're allowed in the Mothers' Union.
Yeah.
You're
allowed to speak.
Well, we'd love to have you.
I'm sure the WI now has to be inclusive.
Yeah, I think the WI has to be inclusive, actually. I don't see how they could get away with not being. So anyway, that's our next 3 months, ladies. You've been absolute angels turning up month after month. And I really do hope that you have enjoyed what the committee and I have put on for you. Particular thanks to Linda and Mary I'm afraid that I couldn't be there, but the fantastic August social that Mary put on in the house. That was incredibly kind and really, really, really thoughtful. Thank you to everybody for being so brilliant on the committee. I literally could not do it without you, because, you know, as you all know, I hadn't been in the WI that long before I was launched centre stage. So I'm really, really thrilled that you've also stuck by, and that we've actually managed to recruit. We've got 6 new members have joined our ranks. Welcome to Kelly and Emma, to just mention too, and to our new guest today, Heidi. I hope that you enjoyed it. And yeah, there you go. Here's Heidi there. So hello, Heidi. And all I can say is a happy Christmas to you all. I hope you have a wonderful season. You know, I think we're going to be played out.
Happy Christmas and Happy New Year, ladies.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Happy Christmas to all of you, and thank you so much for all your help and everything. And I shall see you in what can only be a better year. 2021 has got to be a better year, and hopefully come April I'll actually be able to see you in the flesh, face to face again. So thanks, ladies, as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy Christmas, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
We wish you a Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you, ladies.
Oh, this is lovely. Thank you, Dad.
Oh, my pleasure, Sandra.
Yeah, hope to see you at Christmas.
Oh, I hope to see you too. I'll drop off your orange. Bye, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You can stay on, Mum. You can stay, Mum.
Mary.
Okay, you can stay, Mum.
Hi, Mary.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody. You don't want to go.
Ah, see you soon.
Oh, lovely. Oh,
Bye, everybody.
thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
You got to go.
Thanks for the invite.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dad.
Bye-bye.
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 Oh, here comes my mother down the stairs, see? You can stay, Pop, if you want. You can stay, Pop. I'll speak to my own parents.
Where's Mum?
There's my mum there, there's Mum. Sandra is in Swansea.
Right. Oh, nice to have a Welsh woman around.
Where in near Abergavenny do you live?
Where they live just outside